Hello, so today I'm going to be making hay. I've been doing this process over the last few days, and I do it in small pieces, and so as I'm not doing the same thing all day. So I start off first thing in the morning by cutting with the scythe, then I allow it to dry during the day, then I turn it at the end of the day. Next morning it dries out most of the rest of it, and then the following day I can gather it up. If it needs further drying, I put it on a rack, which I'll show you how to do that, and then after that I put it through a box baler and make small bales. Now this is all done by hand. There's no machinery involved in any of it. There's no tractors, none of those sorts of things. I don't use any of that system for making hay here. I just do it by hand. It's only small amounts that I need for the chickens and other things, so this suits me fine. So I'll walk you through all the different processes and the reasons that I use those processes and the advantages for them. So hope you enjoy. Hello, so today I thought I'd share with you my method of making hay and baling it using just hand tools and very simple equipment. So my land is very steep here. It's very hard to get the idea of just how steep it is, but if I hold the camera level you'll see the fence posts. That gives you an indication of just how steep it is. So here we can't get tractors or any machinery on here if I wanted to, and I don't use any of those methods for any of this anyway. So what I'm going to do is talk you through how I do what I do and why I do it, and benefits of doing it this way. So we're starting off with the scythe. So let's go and have a look at that and the advantages of using that. Okay, so here we see grass I've been doing a little bit over the last couple of days, and I'm using just a scythe and a pitchfork. The scythe is an Austrian scythe. They're lightweight, super sharp, and relatively simple to use. There's several advantages of using a scythe to cut this rather than machinery. One is that as you go round you can identify the plants, like this little self-seeded oak, which I would like to grow where it is. It's quite convenient there. And I can leave patches of other plants, such as this yarrow, harvesting seeds and the herbs. So as we go round we can choose what plants we actually include in the cut. So if there's something we don't want in the cut, like a ragwort or something like that, we can leave it standing. We don't have to go right up to it. So we can selectively cut the plants we want to include. So we can also change the height that we cut at. So where we have long grasses which are already dry, and we don't want to cut the green bit at the bottom, we can just cut it slightly higher, and then we only harvest the dry portions. So, but as you can see, we can cut just a small part at a time. I just do sort of 10 minutes of cutting and work my way across and up the fields a bit at a time, and then as this has been out for a day or two before, I can just go along and turn it once or twice And in this dry weather, the green goes out of it very quickly. So once we got to the point where the green is no longer in it, that's dry enough. So in this sort of weather, if we come out in the morning and cut it first thing before the sun gets up, by the evening it can be very dry and the green is gone either the first day or the second day. So alternatively, we have the method being used over there, which is the tractor, and he's going up and down and up and down after he's cut it, turning it and turning it. But as you see, it's all very much smaller. You can't see from there, but because it's not long stalks when it's cut that way, it doesn't grow, it doesn't dry quite the same. This is hay, so it's long stalks, it's not just multiple cuts. So when it's done with a topper, it chops it up into small little pieces, which is not the same at all. So I'm going to go and get the stand and show you how I'm getting round cutting everything. So one of the many advantages of cutting using a scythe is that you can choose what plants you wish to leave behind. So here we have some ragwort with the cinnabar moth caterpillars on it. So I don't want to include that in my hay, so I'm going to work my way up to it and around it. So that stays there, none of it goes into the hay. Something you can't do on an individual basis with any machinery. There we have all the hay collected, or cut, ready to dry, and none of the weeds in it. Likewise, if you want to put some of them in, like the yarrow, you basically just cut them. So here I want to put a bit of this yarrow in with the hay, so in it goes. So, if it's damp on the ground, or you need other ways of drying it out, other than leaving it out in the field, you can build racks. And these are basically just like ladders. You can support them and tie them together, like this. Or as I've got a bank here, I'm going to rest them up on the bank, like that. Place these together and then put other pieces of crossways. The idea is just to stop the hay from falling straight through. So once you've got a bit of framework there, you can then gather up your hay that needs further drying and place it on the support, and you can keep loading it up. The idea being that the air gets through it from underneath, so it doesn't sit in its own moisture on the ground, and it dries out much more thoroughly. This already is dry enough not to need this, but just to demonstrate how it works. You just load it up. This allows the air to circulate and dry it out thoroughly. We just leave it there for a couple of days, or in this sort of weather, just a day, and it dries out, ready for baling, which I'll show you how we use the box baler to bale that up now. So here we have the box baler itself. It's quite a large piece of equipment. I plan on making a much smaller one to make even smaller bales for specialised purposes. Basically it's a timber construction and it's relatively simple to use. It has a couple of components. It has this operating system for pushing the hay down. It has a door on the front with 2 slots, and although it looks like it's going to form some magic trick, I'm not going to saw anybody in half. So basically you take your second-hand baler twine, which you get to a certain nice length, which is long enough to go around the bale and have enough to tie off. So I take the shorter pieces and tie them together until they're long enough, and this gets used over and over several times. So just join a couple of them together. What I do is in one end I'll make a loop. All I'm doing there is just tying a loop in one end, and the other end's left free. Now with having knots in it, it does make it a little bit more tricky. If you could do it all in one length it would be easier, but as this is what I've got left and I don't fancy producing more of this, I shall strip some nylon ropes that I have into components. So I'll show you how I do that to make new baling twine from old nylon rope. But for now this is what we're going to use. So we need 2 pieces like this, and what we do is we place the loop through the door, and in the bottom of here, which I'll show you now, we have two little runners that these can sit in and hold the rope in place. And it goes up and out the back. And we put two of those in. Let's find a second one. Join two of these together. And as I'm not making thousands of these, it's not too much bother to do this. So, tuck that one through the slot. Put it up and over the back. Lie it down in its little holding position, which I'll show you now. So they go looped end out through the door, and the bottom end sits in these two runners to allow it to pull through even when the bale is pressed down on here. And they just sit up and over the back. Then we close the door, make sure we don't trap the things. And then we load it with hay in the top here. So we'll do that process next. So here we are, we're going to use the box baler now and see how it goes. There's a mixture of hay here. I've got some which was broken up from a commercial bale, and you'll see it's very short. Very small pieces compared with the scythe cap, which is quite a lot longer pieces, so this makes better bales, but this should work. So I'm going to start with a piece of this to go in the bottom, make the bottom layer, get a couple of those in there. Trying to stop the twines from disappearing inside, so I think they need to hang on something. There's a couple of screws at the back here, so I'll utilise those. Hold them in place whilst we're loading. So put a bit in. Once you've got a bit in there, form the base. We take the ordinary rammer, push it down. Keep doing that. Of course, this is a lot quieter than tractor driven, and it has no diesel fumes, so it can get very dusty. It's still pleasant on a day like this. Mixing in some of that mechanically made stuff that's a little green and very short, even though it's still over a year old. Ram that down. Now, once you've loaded it to the top, the next process is to compress the bale. So I'll get all the edges tucked in. And then we'll use this mechanism. So this has two pivots, one there and one here, and it goes in, and we pull down on the handle end to compress it. Now we can get some more in. We'll compress that down, see how we go. It's rocking a bit too much there, so we'll put some more in the back than the front. Try and keep that fairly level. Make a square of bale. Right, once we've got that down, as far as it will go, we then bring our twines over the top and through the slots in the front. This back down to compress it whilst we're tying it off. This time you can press it down past the top of these slots and put it over the top. Like that. And then let's take the two strings tie them off. I'm going to tie them off with a slip knot so they're easy to undo and use again. And we release the pressure. Undo the door. And as if by magic, the woman's in one whole piece again. And there we have our bale. So, I hope you found this interesting and maybe useful if you're wanting to produce a small amount of hay on small bits of irregular pieces of land. You're not a commercial enterprise. This is a perfect solution for it. I will be building a smaller version of this. This one is not mine. This one was lent to me by my neighbour, and I should be building my own, but a much smaller version. So I can borrow this one when I want to make this size, and I can make ones to make small bales for other jobs which I'll show in the future, and they can also borrow the small one from me. So, well, I hope you enjoyed it and will consider following me and seeing how I do on my journey. And thank you for the support. Thank you for watching and sharing, and hope you enjoyed.